Good evening. This is the Athens City Shade Tree Commission meeting for December 9th, 2010. We have no tree permit or right-of-way issues. We've got one landscape ordinance issue, and Mr. Higgins here from Autotech is here to make a request of us about his property. If you'd like to come to the microphone, Mr. Higgins, and just give us some background on what the issues are in this and so on.
I'm Jeff Higgins. I own Autotech Service Center on 2079 East State Street here in Athens. Most people are aware that back on September the 16th, when the tornado come through the area, it hit my building and destroyed it. The building had been there for 11 years, and we're just trying to get rebuilt.
Okay. And so as part of this, you are required, I think, by the Code Office to come up to code
Yes.
in doing this as best we can.
I assume so, yes.
And so one of the issues there is that this property was put there before the annexation of that area, I believe, and so you weren't required to meet any of the landscaping requirements.
I mean, the property was annexed into the city when we built, but I don't think the shade tree thing was in effect at that time.
Yeah. Now, given the area of this, it's about 51,000 square feet. It requires about 31 trees. The way it's built up is that half the property is basically concrete. The other half is a large parking lot, which Mr. Higgins needs for his business. And there really isn't any space within this property to plant trees without adversely affecting his business. And so we have the job now trying to figure out the best way forward with all this. There's a green space right in front of the property, which 2 trees could be planted in, assuming that there are no utility restrictions.
Well, I can just give you a real quick history on this. The reason he's here is because technically this project falls under Title 41, so we would have to go through the process. But obviously, being a replacement, existing structure, existing pad, we're trying to expedite this as fast as we can so that Mr. Higgins can get his business back up and running. I did speak with Andy Stone at the Engineering Public Works, and the grass strip across from the new paved service drive to the fence is an area that something could be done. It's 1,100 feet from the access down to the end of the road. There is electric above that area, overhead electric in some areas, and there is underground water, sewer, and fiber optic. But if it's a small type tree, maybe 50 feet apart, something like that, Andy seemed to think, and that it might work. Again, it's what Mr. Higgins' insurance company will allow, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of parameters here. So
because Title 37 allows us to have trees planted elsewhere in the city that will meet this requirement. And so what John's referring to there is that if Mr. Higgins' insurance will cover upgrade of the code, then it's possible that it will cover the planting of additional trees. And so in order for him to meet the code, it could be done by this mechanism of planting them elsewhere. It could be in that 1,100 foot strip of the space there.
And I don't know, I haven't even discussed that with Mr. Higgins yet, to get him in my office and see where maybe he can lay out if it's possible, and if not, then...
Well, I mean, I think the best way forward with the Tree Commission is to simply state that is the possibility. That will allow the Title 41 process to proceed. The position we're in with Title 41 is that the Tree Commission and other commissions are supposed to review proposals prior to them being moved forward into the planning process. Title 41 is a process which has set deadlines within it so that people know exactly how long it's going to take and no longer. And that's why the Tree Commission is asked to do its business before, so that we know there are no delays that we're going to introduce. And so I think we have a proposal here that makes sense. I think it's going to take John and Ron Lucas working together with Mr. Higgins and his insurance company to see if it's a practical solution. But as far as I'm concerned, that would be a practical solution, and that would allow Title 41 to start out.
Right, and then we don't know the time frame, and then again, we haven't even talked about it, and he's probably saying, what are you talking about?
Are we recommending a few medium-sized trees be planted in that area and the rest possibly planted in another?
I would recommend 2 large shade trees being planted at the front. If we can plant across this service road in the 1,100-foot strip that John was just describing.
It's over on the side, not on the front. Okay.
Yeah, Andy's recommendation is not to go all the way down because there's still vacant property down there between the end of the, what are the 3 buildings just to the east of you, and between that and Holzer.
But I can find, the ordinance allows me to, or allows us to plant trees anywhere, basically in the city. The bicycle path to the west of there is in need of more trees. There are other sites that we can easily find. However, this would be, I think, one of the first occasions where we've tried to operate this banking concept, where if somebody really cannot plant the trees, and I accept that there is no way, without adversely affecting his business, that we could require him to plant trees on this site. And so if this is a way forward and it makes sense as we're going forward, then that's what I'd like to see done.
Are you open to a contingency that if the insurance doesn't cover this, that we can revisit this, or are we just... Because this recommendation would help with the insurance.
I think it has to be consistent with the insurance being available.
Okay.
Let's face it, he lost a building. It wasn't his fault. I don't think he should be obliged, really.
I agree. That's what I wanted to make sure that's what we were...
And the building that's being built is exactly what was there. I mean, it's going in the same footprint, using the same foundation. It's going to be the same size, the same height, same color. I mean, it's just basically replacing what was destroyed.
Yeah. There is no attempt here to redevelop this site. This is purely putting back something that was lost through a tornado. And if the opportunity exists because of this, because of the insurance he carries that will enable him to bring it up to this part of the code, I think we should try and do that.
The building, if his building had been grandfathered in for other codes, electricity or smoke detectors, or whatever, when they put in this building now, they couldn't put it in exactly. Would they have to bring it up to code?
He has to bring it up to code.
Okay.
Yeah.
So bringing it up to code, the trees would not be an exception. That would just be consistent with everything else.
Right.
See when the insurance company agrees.
There could be an argument on that between building and zoning. So, that's the other side of it: building code versus zoning code. But I agree. The best we can. So.
David, you mentioned 2 large shade trees, if possible.
At the front, there is space there for them.
And you check the wires there.
There are no wires at that point.
Okay.
The wires are much further down.
Whereas water and gas comes under the road and through that green space.
But those, I think, are going across that grass strip, whereas across the street, I think you've actually got an 8-inch water line running along.
Yeah, there's water line, cable, and here, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, there was some cable company or something down there that was looking at trying to get something down to Holzer and was talking about putting it above ground with telephone poles. So I don't know what that amounts to.
Those wires don't cause any problems to trees. It's only the high voltage cables of AEPs, which from what I remember are much further down the street than
everything around our site's underground as far as electric goes.
That's good.
That's why I say there's some out there. That's not the whole thing.
Yeah. So that will be the proposal then, that we would require the 31 trees, but we're going to work with John's office and Ron's office to make sure that this is a practical solution in this case, and that will then enable, as I say, Title 41, I think, to proceed at that point.
Yes.
Essentially, what we have to do is come up with something that seems to make sense. If it has to be revised later, it has to be revised later. That's all. I mean, that's always the case with these landscape proposals. So, is that acceptable to the Tree Commission? I'll write it up and send it to you,
So your
John.
recommendation is to do the two on the front and then try with the, to do the two on the front,
Yep.
and then try to do the rest, insurance provided,
Yep.
in the...
Elsewhere in the city.
Elsewhere, possibly working with myself and Ron Lucas
Oh, yeah.
and Andy,
Yeah.
Mr. Higgins.
Well,
about the-
Ron really is the person who works with the safety director to determine where trees can be planted ultimately
Well,
in the
elsewhere.
rights of way.
Right.
Your job really is to make sure code is fulfilled, and that's what 37's going to do here. So that's why I say the two of you are going to have to work on the details of this. And if it can't be resolved that way, maybe you'll have to come back to us and again. But I think at this stage we have a solution that makes sense.
Okay. If the insurance part was not to cover it, and he was only able to get the two on the front, where will we stand then?
I think we have to live with that. I don't think there's
I
as I
would
said,
accept that.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't want to put a burden on the situation, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Maybe
As long as it's
Yeah.
presented to the insurance company not as, oh, and by the way, it would really be nice if we could get some trees.
Well, I know there's clauses in there, the adjuster told me that, that they're obligated, to what extent, I don't know, but he said that they are obligated that, any code changes or anything that comes, due to the rebuild, that they have to be responsible for.
Good.
Yeah.
Sounds
'Cause,
promising.
we really don't want you drilling 240 square foot holes in your concrete to plant trees. I can tell you, you don't want that. That gets really expensive. Never mind losing all the space you've got. Okay, I think unless you've got any further questions, we're at the point where John can now let Title 41 roll forward, and so hopefully all the other bits and pieces now can be put in place for you to put your building back in place,
Yeah.
and get your business operating again.
Yeah. Of course, I can't promise anything out of the insurance company. I've been fighting with them for 2 months trying to get a settlement to get started to begin with. So I don't know, it's been a very, very long road.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Good luck.
Good luck with it all.
Really, thank you.
That's it. Thank you. Did you have anything else, John, for
I
us?
do not, other than to state that Mr. Lucas is on vacation in chilly Florida right now, so.
And I don't think we've got any other landscape ordinance issues. And as we just heard, Ron is on vacation, so I've got Ron's report to read to us. The fall tree planting is in process. The mason is waiting for 1 or 2 trees still to come in, and he plans to plant them, because I know this guy spoke to Mason a week ago. He plans to plant them either this week or next week. I hope the ground isn't too frozen for him. He has been working on a proposal for the removal and replacement of some ash trees. This was a Division of Natural Resources solicitation in which the safety director is proposing to replace, I believe it's 80 trees in total.
Did you say replace?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In which the city is required to come up with a match of 50%. We have already identified through 2 surveys 350 trees plus 450 trees, which is about 800 trees, and that covers about 80% of the city, but doesn't include the south side. And so the estimate is that we've got over 1,000 ash trees out there. Based on earlier data, about 1/3 of those are less than 6 inches, but that means 2/3 are quite large trees.
And the 1/3 could be removed internally?
The 1/3 could probably
By the
be
city.
removed by the city. The original plan was that we would try and cost this out for the city, so that it could be either worked on through taking out some trees ahead of time before the emerald ash borer gets here, if it looks like the city can't afford to do the removal over the 3 or 4 year period, that the trees would be in decline and eventually die once the infection gets here. Because I think it is still generally accepted that the infection will get here, and that once it's here, then those trees will die. I mean, there doesn't seem to be an alternative.
Yeah, I think at this point it might be good, since we don't have a really full agenda tonight, to explain, people have been coming up and asking us individually, tree commissioners, about taking them out. And if we could just kind of make it real clear for anybody who happened to be watching or wanted to watch, what the thinking here is.
The trees that would be removed, and they would be removed with our consultation,
Right.
As all city trees are. But we have to remember the Service Safety Director, she's in charge of the trees, basically, and she works on our recommendations. We would make recommendations about particular trees that were, for example, in decline, trees that were in particularly bad locations, and we think we can make up a list of those. In fact, Ron, I believe, I haven't actually seen his list, but Ron has a proposed list based on the surveys already as to what he thinks should be removed.
But not healthy trees at this point.
Well,
Depends what you define
this
as
is the
healthy.
problem, because some people are really upset about the idea of our removing healthy trees.
I am.
Well, yes, I think all of us.
Define healthy.
Well, I mean, there's where you go. I mean, something that's actively growing, good forms, not going to fall down. I mean, obviously the decline ones are the way to go. But I saw this when I was in Michigan and Toledo, that they just went through and cut down all these trees before they were even sick. And yeah, eventually they're going to go. But you get to a certain point where maybe wait till they get in decline. I know we need to offset some of this stuff, but I think at this point, I mean, it's going to reach here.
Right,
but we can get that shade at least for another.
Yeah.
It just seems kind of bad policy to cut down a tree that's providing good shade today because we know it's going to get sick 5 years from now.
Right.
The proposal really, I read a little bit of it, really does address the trees that are in decline. And if you remember when we did our survey, we rated the trees as good, fair, poor, based on the percentage of dead limbs.
Yeah.
And so I believe we would have to make a recommendation, but it looks like the majority of the 80 trees recommended for cutting would be in severe decline. And some are actually dead. And the theory being that those are also the most vulnerable and are going to be struck first.
Yep.
Well, that isn't true with the emerald ash
It's not?
borer, though. I don't think.
No.
The young, healthy trees are just as vulnerable or more vulnerable than trees in decline.
Okay. Well, even without that information, the trees in decline would be the most likely to be cut first anyway.
It will go through. I saw it when it hit Ann Arbor, Michigan, and very young 6-inch diameter trees. You know, when I got there, they were healthy. 2 years later, they were just dead. I mean, it happened for these trees in this one spot. It was a pretty harsh area, but it happened very quickly, and they were just gone.
Yeah, but I think, wasn't that at a period of time when they were hoping by just getting rid of all these trees that they could quarantine or somehow stop it? And now I think the general feeling now is that's not going to work. So, but what's happening to, as I understand it, to cities is that they are being, the ash borer, once it gets there, then you have an enormous number of trees that very quickly have to be cut down. But the cities don't have the resources. So this is a way of kind of spreading that out.
I think that's a way to look at this as an opportunity for the city to cut its costs in the future.
Right.
We accept that this is going to happen. We don't know when it's going to happen. It could be 10 years away before it actually happens.
Or 2 years.
I think it's less likely to be 2, but it could. I think 5 to 10 is a reasonable projection, and it would be difficult, I think, given the number of trees for the city to afford to do this in a 2 or 3 year period. Plus the fact it's getting a 50% discount on that removal if it does it now.
Exactly.
I would assume, I'm going to read this proposal carefully, or the solicitation carefully, but I would assume that if we decide through a process that the trees are still healthy, then we won't take them down, and therefore the money won't be spent. And so at worst it would have to be given back to the state even if it had been paid to us. But I'm suspecting that the way that this grant is going to work is that typically we will have to spend the money and then we will claim it back from the state against this grant in this period of time. but that's something that we need to work out. We need to be aware of the details of.
So did you say that that will cover 80 trees?
Yes.
So that's about maybe 10%,
So
less than 10%?
around about 10% of the large trees, yeah.
Right.
So we have enough, there's enough trees marked as, there's over 80 trees that are marked as declining.
Declining.
So this is not okay.
Yeah.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be
Now-
left for the future expense.
Is there a way to try to get these points out to the public?
We're doing it now. And it'll be done again, I think, on Monday.
So
City
the millions
Council
of people
will be
watching
reading
the
this
State
again.
Commission.
I'm looking at one of our council people over there. If you want to come to the microphone and just explain what the process is that council does go through when it's like this.
I wasn't necessarily prepared for that. I mostly just wanted to listen this evening and chat afterwards,
But is it correct that that council will be reading this again on Monday?
it'll be revisited, correct?
Yeah.
But there were still questions out there.
Yeah, because
Very similar to the ones that you're addressing this evening.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to hopefully be there to help answer some of those questions, and some of them are still going to be out there hanging at the end of the day.
It's just that this is not like some other, like some diseases to get into trees. This happens once we know it's there. It happens very rapidly and it's very widespread. And so if we don't plan ahead, then the people in the city are going to be in danger of falling ash trees.
Yeah, and the city could be facing a very big bill in a short period of time, and that's one reason for doing this, trying to complete the survey, so that we know what the potential liability of the city is.
And I think another point that needs to be made is that the trees do decline rapidly, and that the ash trees become dangerous. Dead ash trees become dangerous relatively quickly.
Very
It's
quickly.
not like a dead oak tree that'll stand there for a long time.
Yes. Yeah, I think in summary, the infection, once it gets here, will infect all the trees in a very short period of time, a year to two, and that within 2 or 3 years, infected trees will become a hazard. And so that's the sort of time window that we're going to be faced with once we get it here. And so that's why I think it's a good idea to go after a grant like this to help reduce the costs in the future. But it will mean spending money now.
So, just a minute. See, Emily has had special training in the emerald ash borer situation. And I'd like to ask you, Emily, if once a tree starts to die, it's already been affected for a while, but once you can see it's clearly dying, do they have any idea like when it would become dangerous? Like, will it sort of die within 1 year once you can see it?
I think 2 to 3 years was the time that they used to give. I think that often was for smaller, younger trees. So it may be a little longer for older trees, but it is relatively quickly. Once you notice that they are infected, that they die, and once they die, they become dangerous more quickly than some other varieties of trees.
And also,
danger of falling, dropping big leaves.
And they're more expensive to take down once they're dead.
Yes.
They're dead.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yes, that's another point.
Yeah, because of the risk.
Just reading from the text here of the draft proposal, the city has ash trees located throughout the corporation, but we want to begin by removing all trees that are rated dead, poor or fair in our rating process. This method identifies 83 trees with the stated criteria. Most of these trees are small, 40 trees with less than 10-inch caliper, and can be removed primarily internally. 21 have a caliper between 11 and 18 inches. 22 have a caliper greater than 19 inches. With this in mind, we are seeking a $20,000 grant to remove 20 to 25% of the ash trees within the city. I think that needs to be changed slightly because I think it's less than that. But that's the way that I knew Ron was approaching this, that he was looking at the survey and using that as a way to identify what the trees, which trees could be removed through this. I think whenever we've got this, we're going to have to go back, because this was a survey that was done typically with only one or two people looking at these things, and they weren't tree commissioners. We may have to go back as tree commissioners to do exactly what you were alluding to, checking to make sure these aren't good trees that are providing good shade.
And do that with all 80 recommended trees. Yeah, I think that would be reasonable.
So, and did you say something, that there was for planting? So will we
Yes.
be able to go in where a tree has been removed and plant another tree?
We could, or we could decide, no, that isn't a suitable spot.
Right.
And we need to put it somewhere else, and,
Right.
and the grant allows us to do that.
Good, excellent.
So there'd be no
But-
loss of tree cover.
No,
Actually,
that is one of the criteria. We're supposed to,
Yeah.
we're supposed to not lose tree cover.
Eventually, you would have there would be a gap there. It's what, I don't know,
Until the young
15, 20
tree.
years
Yeah.
before you get the equivalent.
But we will be getting a head start
Right.
with young trees
Right.
in areas where we know we're going to lose the trees relatively soon.
Okay.
Good going, guys.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you. I will go. The other thing I was asked to do, by the way, is to write a letter of support from the Shade Tree Commission for the proposal. And so, having heard all your concerns, I can certainly include those in the letter.
David, I wonder if it might be good to write a letter to the editor with this information.
Good.
Or maybe see if the newspaper would like to do an article about it with more details than have come out before.
We'll see. I was asked for comments by the Messenger.
Okay.
Fairly brief. I don't know if they ever published them. But yes, I know Alva used to write letters like this. And I might ask her to do it.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, I would
She's not
support
here, so we'll
Yeah.
appoint her.
Okay. Anything else on the ash trees? Okay. The holiday tree is in place. I saw it tonight. It's got lights on. It looks very nice. So I think Ron is to be commended for that. As he's also to be commended for getting the Tree City USA application sorted out and
Good.
submitted. So that's all done. I don't think we've got anything else for tonight, unless other people have got anything they want to raise. I wasn't able to get the minutes together from the last meeting, so we'll have both these minutes and the previous meeting's minutes at the next meeting. Is there anything else that we want to discuss? In that case, the meeting is adjourned.